Peggy and Jill as well.
Okay. Good. All right. All right, we ready? Good afternoon, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you all to the PPRTA Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, April 12th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I do believe we have a quorum, and we'll start moving forward. Is there anybody in the audience that'd like to speak to the board at this time during public comment? I don't see any hands raised, so I will close public comment. We do have, well, I referred to him yesterday as a lame duck, but we have, oh, I forgot to approve the agenda. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Well, now back to,
And I can tell you now, or I can tell you later, item 11 can be removed, so.
okay. We'll be removing item 11. All right, thank you. We have with us someone who is here for his final meeting. His term on City Council is, well, he had his last City Council meeting yesterday. And he's been, I will tell you, he's been an incredible City Council member, and I think he's been a great member of this board. So I'd like to read a resolution for him, and this is a resolution by the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority Board of Directors acknowledging appreciation to the City of Colorado Springs Director Larry Bagley, April 12, 2017. Whereas the City of Colorado Springs is a member government of the PPRTA, and whereas Larry Bagley served as the City of Colorado Springs Council member from 2014 to 2017, when he served as a PPRTA Board of Directors from 2015 through 2017. And whereas City of Colorado Springs Director Larry Bagley has served the citizens of Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak region with distinction. Now therefore be it resolved, the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority Board of Directors wishes to acknowledge their deepest gratitude to the City of Colorado Springs Director Larry Bagley for his commitment to regional transportation planning and projects, for his wise counsel, and for his dedication to the advancement of the transportation projects of the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority. Resolved, approved, and adopted by the Board of Directors of the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority this 12th day of April 2017 in Colorado Springs. Is there a motion to approve this resolution? So moved. All right. We can't all make the motion.
Everybody wants to, because we love you.
It was too much excitement there to get rid of him. I wasn't going to approve this.
Back off.
Would a no vote keep him here?
I don't think so.
Well, let's vote on it. All in favor of showing Larry our appreciation, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And Larry, we have a gift for you, and something you can. It's a hard hat that says PPRTA on the front and Bagley on the back.
Oh,
so,
nice.
So,
even I can read that.
That's nice.
yeah, I think you ought to wear that hat. It definitely improves your look.
It does. It comes up my bald head. Thank you. Thank you.
Larry, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, but I'll do it from here, and it'll be very short. Just one, it's been a real honor and a pleasure to serve on the PPRTA. This is one of those programs that almost daily you can see the results and or the ongoing activities under PPRTA. And I will admit I live near Woodman and Academy, so I see it every day for the last couple of months. But this is one of those programs that you can see in the region the results and the ongoing efforts to complete this. And it's been a real honor for me to serve on a program like that and with such distinguished people and dedicated people. So Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Well, thank you, Larry. Really appreciate it. Item number 5 is the approval of the minutes for March 8th. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? I'd prefer it to come for somebody who was here. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda is the Citizens Advisory Committee report. Reb, can you give us the report, please?
Good afternoon, members of the board, and my personal thanks to Larry. I appreciate your efforts. There were no public comments furnished. We had the monthly financial reports for informational only. We did put forth a positive recommendation, unanimous, for the investment committee's report advising that it would be best to invest in Colorado Trust Plus account. We approved 14 contracts for the city of Colorado Springs, 12 of which were maintenance and 2 of which were capital improvements. And the capital were Cottonwood Creek at Academy and the westbound lane bridge over Sand Creek on US 24 Platte Avenue. It's out by Powers. We approved 4 maintenance contracts for the city, or the county, El Paso County, and approved 1 maintenance contract for the city of Manitou Springs. The City of Colorado Springs Transit Report was an update, information only. We did not approve a request from the city for NV5 program management. It was a 13-to-1 vote, and if in the discussion, I'll come up and explain the reasoning behind it. City of Colorado Springs, and on your item, I saw that was a separate item. That's your item 9B, and it was our 7B, I think. Yeah. Our agendas don't jive numerically. The City of Colorado Springs monthly change order request, or change order and property acquisition report was for information only. I can tell you there was some discussion about it. It was for a piece of property just to the east of the bridge under Academy Boulevard, and it was necessary in order to complete the construction. The staff field report, I want to take this time. I don't think you may understand or appreciate what this staff does for you. There are primarily 2 of them. There are Rick and Bev. Yes, Bethany's involved as well. I don't misunderstand. She is an important part too. But Rick goes out and looks at these projects and keeps us up to date very, very well. And Bev spends our money wisely and brings us great reports every month. So thank Bev, where'd you go? But it was unanimous that I was allowed to do this on behalf of the CAC, that we really do appreciate the great effort of the staff. And if you want to, compensate them, remunerate them properly, that's all right too.
Did you guys vote on that?
Yes. So they don't get hit.
Sometimes they may need the hard hat.
Actually, I think they're probably the fairest group of administrators I've ever seen, and the most honest. And I've been around a bunch.
Great.
Report of recent board actions was an information only, no problem. The draft 2017 annual report was a draft at that time, and I don't know whether Rick reported it or not. He has an IT man out that is bringing up some information, so if there's any questions, you can ask Rick. We have approved it subject to a couple of changes we asked for. One was to update the old Ranch Road map in the report, and the other one that was just approved, or preliminarily approved, a change in the cover photo.
We'll address that under item 2.
Right. I'm not going to try and keep up with your agenda. I have trouble with my own. The legislative report was for information only, and you will get that later. The agenda topics chosen for next month's meeting is additional discussion for possible revisions to Board Policy Number 10, which is lane restrictions, lane reductions, and whatnot, and I've been involved in those as well. There were nothing to be discussed with communications. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Rep? Is there a motion to accept their report? All right, is there a second?
Thank you,
All
Stan.
right, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Well, I love doing this each time. It's time to bring up Good News Bev, who even has better good news this time.
Good afternoon. We have really great news in February. Just yesterday, we received $7,409,000, which was almost $943 above the revised budget, which you'll be approving today. So 15% above a revised budget, that's pretty spectacular. So maybe we'll have additional revenue at the mid-year amendment. You never know. So compared to last year on page 2, we're ahead 8.6%. So quite a increase from last year also. Are there any questions about the
Any
financial
questions of
report?
Bev on the financial report? Okay. Bev, that's for information only. Let's go to 2017 budget amendment. I'll start with you, and then we'll need to go to a public hearing before I ask for approval.
Okay, so we set forth at the March meeting that today would be the public hearing, and we went over the amended budget, the first amendment with the CAC last month, and they made a positive recommendation to approve the budget to the board. This amendment increases revenue for 2017 by $5 million, because it was $89 million, and it goes up then to the $94 million, which is on the first page of this report. So most of this is additional revenue and revenue carryover from last year. So are there any questions for me?
Any questions for Bev?
Just a few questions.
Yes, Stan?
Thank you very much. These are, I'm going to presume that at this moment we can talk about this amended budget 1, and it's just the columns. And I'm just a little bit about just wanting to understand what some of the terminology means. So we have year-to-date actual, year-to-date budget, and then year-to-date budget complete. Does that mean the dollars that have been obligated, which means they're on contract, or does that mean the dollars that have been expended? What does that column mean?
Just the dollars that are expended.
So complete means expended.
Yes.
Okay.
I could change that
I might
caption.
recommend a change, because budget complete, what that means to me is you've completed that percentage of your budget design as opposed to how much money you've actually spent. And then another quick question, and of course, we work on a calendar fiscal year, and we are at April 10, and we have relatively small numbers as far as actual dollars consumed. And I would imagine, at least in part, it's because it takes time to get people on contract. But I'm actually wanting to hear you say, what is the reason for where we are at as far as consumed dollars?
Because part of the reason that we are always behind here at PPRTA is the member governments receive their invoices and send their inspectors out to make sure the work's done, approve them. Then the information comes to us to pay it. So really, by the time we get us an approved invoice from a member government, it's several months since the work's been done. So we're now just getting January and February invoices. And there's not really a lot of major construction, except on a couple of the major projects that was being done at that time. So we look like we're really far behind.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still getting invoices for 2016, but in the next week, we're only getting a few, and that'll be over, and we'll have our audit. So we are just like about 4 months behind on spending the money.
To use an example that could be added to it, there's some projects that can't be worked on during the wintertime. I'm going to use Centennial Boulevard as an example of one of them in the city. That project was stopped in about October, and I think it just started up about a week ago, because during the winter months, the ground conditions and the weather did not allow it to be done. So that delays it as well.
It's the way it's always been in all the budget processes and reviews that I've ever done, but I wanted to hear it and actually make sure that that's what it was. And then maybe just as a suggestion, this is not something I'm going to ask as a requirement or whatever, but it's a suggestion. And this just comes from my experience in Department of Defense budgeting. They would have two columns. One would be the money that's obligated. This would be items, dollars that are placed on contract but have not been invoiced and paid. And then also, that would be also money that maybe would be allocated to some agency that isn't on contract because you're doing a government-to-government transfer, something like that. And that can be a really healthy indicator of the fact that your plan is in full execution, and those numbers would typically be represented as much higher numbers compared to what you've actually outlaid. So it's just an idea for consideration, and you can just think about that. And whether you do it or not, it's going to be okay with me, but it's just a suggestion.
It's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that data is on the contract worksheets. I don't have that data at my disposal. It's at the member governments, because when they put together the RTA, the member governments are responsible for doing the contracting, so they keep all those numbers there. But hopefully on the contracts worksheets, it'll say how much is that they've already contracted out.
Okay, yeah.
Appropriated.
I'm not asking it to be a requirement. It's just what I have been accustomed to. And in your explanation, because the different public agencies do their own contracting, you're probably not necessarily trying to chase that down. You might have it on contract worksheets, but you're not trying to manage that.
And I wouldn't have it for the general categories.
Okay.
Now, one of the things for the big capital projects, really, it's a pay-as-you-go. So some years we'll have a pretty good, healthy budget in for a major capital project and not spend very much of it at all because it's in the design phase, or they're trying to purchase the right-of-way. So by the time they're constructing it, it's already been budgeted a couple years. So you kind of see this major lag that way.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the budget? Well, then, Bev, would this be the time to open it up for a public hearing? Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to the board regarding the 2017 budget amendment? I don't see anybody asking to speak, so I will close the public hearing. I need now a motion to it can be one motion, but we need to approve the budget and allocate the funds. Is there a motion to do such?
I so move.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Bev, let's go back to the investment committee report. And before you start that, I want to tell the other members of the board, Mr. Waller could not be here for the meeting, Commissioner Waller. He was here for our budget preparation meeting. He wanted me to share with you that he is in full support of the investment committee's recommendation. Okay, I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, so interest rates have been on the rise. For very many years, they were very flat. After the banking problems that we had, I don't know what year that was, but it's probably been about 5 years. So since the rates were flat, we didn't move our money around or look to have an investment committee meeting. But rates have been on the rise, so it's time for us to have an investment committee meeting, which consists of a finance person from all 5 of the member governments. So we had an investment committee meeting on the 16th, and my memo says the 23rd, but it was the 16th, and then another one on April 4th. And the investment committee recommended that we move our considerable funds from American National Bank, from their money market fund, to Colo Trust's Plus account. And there's a pretty big difference in the interest rate. I mean, not so much the rate, but we have, could you just, maybe I'll, here's another one, I'm sorry. Pass this down. Some folks might have these already, but it gives you an idea of the difference. I'll wait till they're passed out. So the Plus is the account that the investment committee recommends, and our invested amount, the difference would be about almost $600,000 a year between what we have now and what it is now at these current rates. And if the rates continue to rise, it could be more. Because even though American National Bank was going to raise their rates, they're somewhat behind the curve compared to Colo Trust. And Brian Olson was going to be here today, but he's late, and that's okay. If you have some questions, we can put that off for later, but if you don't, then we could just proceed. Let's see. I don't know, do you have any questions?
Are there any questions for Beth? This also has gone to the CAC, I believe, Reb, and was unanimously recommended to the board for approval. You can see the rate almost doubles with Colorado Trust as compared to what was proposed by A and B. I think they've done a great job. It's my understanding that all of our member agencies also have experience with Colorado Trust. So it's not like there's any of us that are saying, well, we've never worked with them, we don't know. All of them have, and all are comfortable, it's my understanding.
Right,
So,
and Joe Carroll from Colorado is here today, too, if you need
right.
to ask any questions
Is
of him.
there any questions? Is there a motion to approve the recommendation from the citizen?
I make a motion that we approve it. And just for the record, too, the fact that our finance director, Rebecca Davis, was part of this makes me feel very good. Not that I would doubt any of the other ones at all, but she's so well-versed in Colo Trust that I feel really good about it. So, yeah, I definitely make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Is there anyone in the audience like to speak to this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, thank
I
you.
did have, I did have just one question,
Yes.
though, if I might. And it's just kind of because being fairly new to the PPRTA, now that there seems to be some movement in the interest rates, what kind of flexibility do we have to keep moving, this from bank to CD to whatever, as far as trying to capture the best rate? Because the banks will start competing for that money. So if we've got a lot of flexibility, we can probably even garner additional benefits. And I'm just interested in understanding what flexibility we have.
Well, as far as the banks go, we can go into CDs, and we have 2 CDs still with American National Bank that were $10 million apiece. But the problem with trying to even ladder CDs right now as rates are going up is that we'll fall behind what Colo Trust Plus offers. Now, Colo Trust Prime is more along the lines of what a CD would offer. But at any rate, there's that. And typically, the banks don't offer as much in the upswing as Colo Trust does. That's what the history provides. It's a little different when rates are going down, though.
It's a good question. Thank you. Any other questions? All right.
But of
thanks.
course, I'll keep an eye on it, though.
Yeah.
And we'll call the investment committee together if there is a change there.
The investment committee, if you see opportunities,
Okay.
and then make those presentations.
Yeah,
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Do you want Joe Carroll from Colo Trust to come up and talk about how they will stay ahead of the curve?
If you'd like.
I would like to hear that.
Okay.
Yes. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I was blocked by the pillar, but the question was originally posed as how flexible would we be to be able to invest in certain opportunities going forward should that rise. College Trust does offer daily liquidity, and there's no minimums to or maximums to what you can pull out. So if there were a better opportunity that presented itself in the future, you have the full ability to pull all the funds out and reinvest those however you'd like. So there's no contract involved with College Trust, so you can get those out same day should you need, if those do arise. And to speak to what Rick and Beverly were mentioning, is as rates go up, with banks have two sides of their business. One would be the lending, and one would be the investing. And so what they want to do currently is lend out at a higher rate as rates go up and then pay out at a lower rate. And they're not going to want to pay out at that lower rate until it really starts to hurt them. We don't lend. We're not a bank. We are a local government investment pool. And so as soon as those rates go up, we're trying to reinvest at those to get our participants in the pool to higher rates. And so there's almost an immediate impact as rates rise. We have a weighted average maturity, meaning the entire pool will flip over at a 52 days. And so the average maturity in the pool is 52 days. So as rates go up, we can continue to invest those at a higher rate.
Great.
So, yeah, just a kind of a quick follow-on question then. So does that mean that you have the flexibility without direction from us to move this around a little bit to get the maximum value, or do you need that direction from us?
No, we don't ever take custody of the funds. So you invest into College Trust, but we don't do anything with the funds that you invest other than invest in the pool, so that we can't take your specific funds or anyone else's specific funds and move those around. They're all part of the pool which is invested together, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. You bet. Okay, let's go to item 8, capital maintenance, public transportation contracts. Let's go with the City of Colorado Springs. Mike, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mike Chavez, City Engineering. We've got a long list again this month. I'm going to talk about items 16 and 17 separately since I brought those on as a walk-on. First of all, items, contracts 1 through 10 are supply contracts for our operations department for different materials they'll need. Those are not to exceed amounts yearly. They have a 4-year renewal option. So I'm not sure if there's any questions on those 10.
Any questions? Don't see any.
Okay. Item 11, again, our operations department has an on-call contract with Lane Liner. When we put those together, we had a not to exceed $200,000 task order limit. So they have a project that has 2 pipes in the very close vicinity, so they have the contractor put together the price to do that work, and it's over $200,000, so we're bringing that for approval to the board per the contract limits. So that's pretty straightforward. That's the only reason it's coming here is because it's over $200,000. And then 12, that's a task order-based contract with Rampart Surveys to reset monuments that get disturbed during construction. 13 is a design contract with HDR for the Platte Avenue over Sand Creek Bridge design. And at this point, we are not looking at using any RTA funds, but we want it approved by the RTA in case we do have to put some RTA funding into the design effort down the line. But with the city general fund and the grant amount, we're able to, at this point, fund the design without RTA money. The 14 is land purchase, and there is an exhibit at the back of the contract memo there. So there's a vacant piece of land near the bridge, and we are wanting to purchase that for construction purposes. One, it provides access to the bridge when we start working on it. There really isn't any other good access to that area. We've rented from this owner before, and we just felt that it would be more cost-effective if we buy it, not only so we have access, but we have a storage area. Sometimes these guys will exact a pretty high rental rate to the contractor. That
How much?
is it 101? Is the purchase price? And that we had an appraisal that was, let me turn that. We had an appraisal that was a little bit less than that, but our real estate consultant said that the negotiated price up was within reason. It was like, I forget if he said 37%.
Oh, okay, so I was on the wrong page. That's one.
Okay.
And then down the line, there is the option to sell it. We would keep the part that encumbers the creek, because this property actually owns the creek, but we could sell the remainder off in the future. We'd probably have to retain an access easement to get in that area. But that's something that we're not for sure going to sell it, but I think we would look at it and see if it makes sense. And so we'd be able to recoup some of that money that we used to purchase it.
Question.
Yeah. Yes.
Would that money come back to the RTA? then?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
If RTA pays for any land purchase and we get money back, we sell it, it comes back to the RTA.
Okay.
To that project, and if the project's completed, it goes into the pool.
Anything else, Mike?
Not on that one.
Just a quick question on that. Again, being new to PPRTA, do we have a policy that says when a property is no longer in use, we have an obligation to sell it?
Rick?
Do we have something like that?
Rick would know. He's been here through the whole thing,
Yeah.
so not.
The part, when we have purchased property, the remainders are usually not big enough to be of any value, so
I mean, if there's a reasonable reason why that wouldn't happen, totally get it. We have that with the county, excuse me, we have that with the county. I imagine the city might have something similar, so I'm just asking if we have something similar.
possibly I'll let Rick answer.
Okay.
The first comment would be that the PPRTA would be writing the check to the property owner for the city, in this case, and the city would own it. So similarly to the vehicles that we have written checks to the truck dealers, we write the check to the Ford dealer, and then the city takes the ownership of the vehicle. So
They maintain it.
right. Well, and for the vehicles, the PPRTA helps pay for the maintenance and the fuel. But similarly, the PPRTA would not own this parcel of property. We'd write the check to the property owner, if you approve this, after receiving proper paperwork from the city staff, and then the parcel would be owned by the city. Now, there isn't currently a policy that says that PPRTA staff would monitor the use of it and demand revenue back or whatever, but it'd be on the honor system. If the city did decide they were going to sell it, then on the honor system, they would send the check back to us, but then we'd we put that back in the city's capital account, but the check would need to come back to the PPRTA. I don't know if that answers your question.
Is there a way to annotate that in some way in the agreement? And you said honor system. Is there at least a way that it's annotated somewhere?
Well, let me give a couple of examples. So basically, the city, or in the county also, we only try to purchase as much property or land as we need for the projects. In certain cases, what we need for the project leaves sometimes half a parcel, but it's too small to do anything with. And the real estate types, I think they call it an uneconomic remainder. So in those cases, we have to buy the whole property, and then we have it. And they usually are too small to sell, and that's why we have them. One example is on the Chestnut realignment. We did buy several houses and demolished them, and there was a parcel left that was not big enough to build a house back on, but the Waffles actually wanted it. There was enough there, it was right next to their property, and they bought it for parking. And so in that was one case where we actually were able to sell it because somebody had a use for that small parcel, and that money came back to the RTA.
And I might say my question is really about a matter of just understanding the procedure. So
Sure.
is this something along the lines, using this as a particular test case, where PPRTA would be procuring it using city money, it would become city property? So at the point where either the property in whole or in part becomes excess, maybe it just never comes back to PPRTA. Maybe it just follows the city process for disposal of excess property, or does it in fact come back to PPRTA?
If it's sold, it comes back to PPRTA.
So if it is sold, it would come back here then?
Well,
Yes, it
on
has.
an honor system.
Well, I think it's more than just an honor system.
Well,
I mean,
that's.
I'm just saying
that's not what it's being said.
the policy is that if we do sell property, I think the real estate policy is, depending on who funded it, it goes back to them. If it's federally funded, the money needs to go back to the federal government. If it's RTA. So I can double check and see what our real estate policy has, but I think it's more than just an honor system. I think
Did you report that back to
Yeah.
us at the next meeting? Okay.
That's satisfactory, just a briefing on it at a future date. Thanks.
These are good questions. I appreciate you asking them. Mike, anything else?
Well, we got one last one is the design contract for the Vermejo Avenue and Sierra Madre design. That's with AECom to do street improvements and upgrades along those two streets. Sure if there's any questions on that one.
Mr. Murray, did you have a question?
Oh, yeah, well, I think Kathleen's about to answer them all.
Okay.
I promise I'll try as hard as I can. Kathleen Krager, City Traffic Engineer for Colorado Springs. And since some of you weren't here last month, let me just give you a real brief update that this is a city project to improve Vermejo Street from Cascade to Sierra Madre, and Sierra Madre Street from Colorado Avenue to Caceres. This area is being improved, we'll admit it, a lot because the Olympic Museum has now gotten its funding and will be built at the corner of Sierra Madre and Vermejo. These streets have been in sort of an old rundown part of downtown. They have not been touched for quite a few years. They're in bad condition. There is a lot of local street flooding that occurs whenever it rains, that type of thing. So
I don't believe there's any gutters or sidewalks.
there's not on some of them. They are really quite rough. So the city wants to bring them up to better standards, and then in addition to that, they would like to take Vermejo and make it a street that could be considered a festival street, similar to Larimer Street in downtown Colorado Springs, where it can be easily closed to vehicular traffic on weekends, and we can party. It's a fun design. We're going from a 100-foot cross-section of street to a 100-foot cross-section of sidewalk. And the sidewalk has a lot of bioswales in it, that type of thing, to handle stormwater, street furniture. And the street section itself will not have any curb and gutter, because I have fallen off the curb and gutter at Larimer Street many times on a Saturday night. So this will be all one very... Don't look at me like that. This will be all one very, very smooth, interesting street with lots of artwork. However, that's really not the thing that PPRTA generally invests in. So what we've done is look at these streets and say, well, at the very least, they need to have the concrete work repaired and be milled and overlaid as we would with any normal maintenance dollars. So we have provided a cost estimate of what that would take and assumed that amount of money from PPRTA maintenance. What I'm asking for today is $400,000 out of one of my program funds, and let me explain that I have a number of program funds within traffic engineering that are on the A list of capital projects. And they don't handle specific projects, but they handle specific types of projects. And the reason they don't handle specific projects is for things like intersection designs and redesigns. We have a lot of those that come up every year. It's pretty hard to know that 10 years from now, development's going to occur or travel patterns would change that would cause an intersection not to behave appropriately. So this gives us some flexible spending in PPRTA so we can address those shorter-term needs that we can't quite see 10 years in advance. This has been questioned because there's a lot of different funding sources and a lot of different projects involved. So it was tabled last month, and probably appropriately so, because we didn't have a lot of the funding answers for you last month. But if you read the papers this week, you've heard that the museum has gotten all of their funding needed to start the museum construction. In fact, I know that utility relocate work is being done right now. And in addition to that, what has been approved is the RTA, not our RTA, but the Regional Tourism Act RTA bonds have been approved for the area, which include public bonds for public improvements such as streets. So I've given you two projects because we have two projects in the area, and they are sort of tied together, at least by location. I'm not asking for anything at this point in time for the pedestrian bridge, but there is a pedestrian bridge that will basically go from the museum at Sierra Madre and Vermejo. They're building a pedestrian plaza. It goes directly into the pedestrian bridge, and then it drops down in time for America the Beautiful Park. PPRTA board has already committed $3.5 million. I don't have it all under contract, but I have a portion of it under contract right now. So that's on a capital A list for the Greenway Trail improvements. And then the USOM tourism bonds provide another $7.1 million for what I know looks like an outrageous $10.6 million. It is a gorgeous pedestrian bridge. I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to downtown. But the reason why the city asked for the 3.5 is we had a study done by CP&Y of what is the basic cost of putting in just your most basic pedestrian bridge, like you would put in for the Parks Department, across the railroad tracks to lead to America the Beautiful Park. And because it has to be high and all of one span because it's going over the railroad tracks, it turns into an expensive project. Just a basic chain link type fence was $3.5 million. So we said, fine, that's reasonable for city funding. This is a project that's been on our city master plan since the 1980s to add this pedestrian bridge. So we asked for the $3.5 million for city funds. Anything beyond that, we're calling it the iconic phase of the project, and that's what takes it from being a chain link fence to something that's going to be very artistic and tasteful. And that's why we're looking at money other than straight city funding to do that. The Vermejo Sierra Madre Street has a commitment of $250,000 from the museum for making street improvements along their frontage. It has.
Where is the museum supposed to be on this map?
The museum sits at the southwest corner of Sierra Madre and Vermejo.
No, that's the rail yard.
Southwest.
Between the rail yard and the road.
The museum.
Yes.
Oh,
So it's between Sierra Madre and the railroad tracks. Actually, they have both sides of Vermejo. On the south side will be the museum, and on the north side will be a restaurant and gift shop and that type of thing, with a pedestrian plaza through the middle of it.
So this is south of Vermejo and west of Sierra Madre?
Yes. Just before the railroad, it'll be next to the railroad tracks.
Anything else?
So tourism bond of $1.7 million, PPRTA funding, which I'm asking for today, of $400,000, and PPRTA maintenance funds of $2.8 million, which I'm not asking for today, comes to 5.15. I think that there will be additional funds coming in for both the pedestrian bridge and Sierra Madre and Vermejo. Currently, with the funding we have, the pedestrian bridge is fully funded, but I think we'll be getting some additional funds from other sources, which we can then transfer some tourism bond money to Vermejo and Sierra Madre. We will design Vermejo and Sierra Madre for how much money we have. So whether, I get my extra park bench to rest on will depend on how much money goes into that project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, Bill?
Okay, now, last time we were talking about this, this was a design, the $400,000 was for design.
Yes.
Okay, but what you're saying here, this is for actual reconstruction of streetscape? Is this actual construction, or is this design?
The $400,000 I'm currently asking for is for design.
For design?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not for reconstruction of streetscape?
for the design.
It's for the design of the reconstruction of the streetscape.
Isn't this a 30%?
Yes,
Okay, so we're short, what, another 600,000?
yes.
Is that going to be in the?
We can take that out immediately. In fact, it's available out of the 1.7 million in tourism bonds.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. All right.
All right, thank you.
Is
No
there
problem.
is there a motion to approve? Oh, yes.
Just so that, because I'm a bit of a newbie too, not as new as you, Stan, but still. So these funds are already set aside in the program fund and the maintenance fund. You're just requesting to use them in a specific way.
Yes,
That's it.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the City of Colorado Springs contracts?
So moved. Second.
Second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Let's
Did
go.
that include the walk-ons? Okay,
Yes.
all right.
I think it was all.
Oh,
I voted for the list, is what I voted.
That's what I voted for too.
was 1 through 15,
1 to 15.
okay,
The 1 through 15.
okay.
so 16 and
Okay.
17.
All
Okay.
the items on the list.
It's a walk.
This, okay, 17 items? Okay.
16 and 17 that we're adding.
I was voting on the items that are on the paperclip version that was given to
Yeah.
us when we sat
Go to
down.
15. That's
Which
what-
would, yeah.
Well, but this has 16
Two.
and 17 we haven't talked about.
So those are the ones I was going, let me explain, so,
Those have not,
yes.
15.
Okay, yeah, just clarify. So,
can we accept, let me ask
Yeah,
the board,
yeah.
can we accept 1 through 15? Let me explain 16 and 17, and we'll ask for another vote on those two. Would that be acceptable? Okay. All right, go ahead.
Clarifying the understanding that the first vote was 1 through 15.
yes, okay.
I just wanted to, I think that's what we all thought, but
Yeah,
I
I just want to make sure.
certain.
Okay. So a couple of days ago, our traffic signal people asked me to walk on a couple of traffic signal supply contracts, which I told them I prefer not to because I hadn't been to the CAC. But they explained to me that there's about a 2 to 3 month lead time to get these parts, and they're needed for specifically for the Woodman widening project and the Cimarron I-25. So a month delay actually would make a big difference. So I'm asking that these be approved for that reason.
Is there a motion to approve items 16 and 17?
I'm sorry, I'm not even sure what
There's a
is.
separate piece of paper when you sat down,
That they handed you
I sent-
paper clipped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
and it's just the bottom two, 16 and 17.
You know,
I
one is
wanted to
to
look
what?
at them. I just.
Yeah.
And it's traffic signal equipment. It's a supply contract.
Is there a motion?
And Mr. Chair, I'll move, and then after the second, I do have a quick question.
Yes.
Second.
Second. Stan?
Yes. So, just with regard to the dollars on items 16 and 17, the 50,000 and the 411, those are funds that are already available
Yes.
and programmed and budgeted. So this is a matter of just obtaining the approval to consume those dollars.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to El Paso County. We're used to seeing
That's
Jennifer.
not Jennifer. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
You
I'm
don't
a new
look anything like
face
Jennifer.
here. Yeah, Jennifer's out on a business trip, and John Clack, who sometimes fills in, is out sick. So my name is Mike Cartmel. I am the construction services supervisor. I just report directly to John Clack. All right. We have 4 contracts, 4 renewable contracts that are all maintenance related. The first is our 2017 pavement crack seal program. That's $800,000. The second is the 2017 chip seal program of $600,000. And the third is our asphalt overlay program, $4.65 million. And the last is our concrete program of $555,486.
Is there a second? Is there any questions, comments? Anybody in the audience? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, thank you.
Easy enough. I should do this more often.
Yeah, so you're going to go tell Jennifer. Jennifer complains, right? She comes,
Yeah, tell Jennifer how smooth it went with you presenting. Okay, let's go with City of Manitou Springs.
This won't be so easy.
Hi. I was excited to see Mike. We used to work together. I hadn't seen him in about a year and a half, so it's good to see him.
Good.
My name is Shelley Coba. I'm the Public Services Director for the City of Manitou Springs. And we have one contract here for consideration for our mill overlay projects, which reflects an amount of 2016 carryover of projects that were not completed and 2017 projects. And the total amount of the contract is $476,757.75. And I'll stand for questions.
Mary, do you want to make a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve this for sure, but I also just want to say, because sometimes we say questions or comments, my comment is that Shelley is the best public services director ever.
Wow, thank you, Mayor. And I would say best mayor ever also. Hands down.
That wasn't a motion. That was a declaration. I think. Is there a second?
I'll second the whole thing, including the best of the best.
Thank you all.
And I may have to recommend that the City of Colorado Springs steal her. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Let's go to other reports for information only. The Transit Services Monthly Report for the City of Colorado Springs. Welcome, Craig.
Yeah, good afternoon. Craig Blewett, Transit Services Manager with the City of Colorado Springs. You do have our report in your agenda, and just a couple things to note. In terms of our ridership, local fixed route bus went up a whopping almost 10% compared to the year before. So that's awesome, especially considering it was one less weekday in the month of February. So that's a very significant increase. We also had an increase in our ADA service, about just over 7%. Van pool, again, our numbers down compared to last year. I think we're kind of losing the war with gas prices a little bit. But as I mentioned, also our occupancy is very good. So we're only running the number of vans that are required to carry the passengers we're carrying. So we don't take on those additional costs of empty vans. They are full vans. And just the last thing to note, our downtown transit station relocation study is progressing. We are working with a mayor-appointed steering committee to look at those last 3 sites, to prioritize those sites. It's a really good group. We've had 2 meetings, and we do expect a solid recommendation to come out of the group by June. And we're on track to do that.
Any questions for Craig? Greg, it's a good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's go to the City of Colorado Springs, NV5, Capital Program Management. Who will be presenting this?
Well, we want to hear from the CAC on this, too.
Yeah.
This is what was rejected, right?
Sorry about that. I didn't realize it go so fast. Mike Chavez, City Engineering. Wanted to discuss briefly, when we were renewing NV5's contract last year for 17, there was a request that we recompete it then, and I said, I don't think that'll work at this late hour. So I said, well, we can recompete it going into the 2018 year. And that was what we were looking at doing. We had some staff changes just recently, and the workload this particular staffer had was all the RTA bridge maintenance and some capital projects, including RTA projects. We've divvied up some of that work, but one of the options we're looking at is we'd like to put more work onto NV5, but I'm hesitant to do that if we may be ending their contract in about 8 months. So what I have requested in the memo is if we could postpone that for a year. And part of the reason is just the current RTA staff, NV5 staff that I have there, in particular my project manager, has been around for 10 years, so he's the most senior person in engineering next to myself. He's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of history on some of these continuing projects. So for another year, it would just be more efficient and cost-effective, in my view, to keep them and then look at changing horses going into 19. I believe that some of the CAC members were concerned about cost savings, or having somebody on too long and cost. And the contract that Envy has now was renewed in 2010, and it really didn't have a limit. It was left kind of open-ended because we felt at that time that the staff that was there it was better to keep them on it rather than change. But the request to recompete it is reasonable, but I think it would be in the city's best interest to wait another year. I think one of the concerns is, hey, are we paying too much? I don't think we would really get a cheaper price from a new firm, and even if we were to, I think that the loss in expertise wouldn't be worth the savings that we might gain.
Okay. Mike, I think your rationale is good from speaking for myself, but I want you to know if the board chooses to extend this a year, I will not vote to extend it another year after this. If we do choose to do it this year, that's the last time I'm going to.
Oh, and that's fine.
I just want it to be clear.
And like I said, I plan on doing it. Just the situation and the particular staff member that left really put us in a bind.
Let's see where we're at. Is there a motion to? What we need is a motion to approve the NV5 capital program management. Is that correct? Contract.
So basically, we had made a commitment to recompete it going into 8. So what I'm asking is, and I don't know how you.
19?
Yes.
Just delay it for a year.
Yes, delay.
Yeah.
Is there such a motion?
I move we, go ahead.
I'll come back. Let me.
We move to delay the recompete for 1 year to 2019.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Bill?
Well, we need to, CAC was the one who.
And we'll let them speak.
Well, I've got comments.
Yeah.
At some point.
We'll have full discussion before we vote.
Okay. Is this time for it?
Yes.
All right. The vote in the CAC was 13-1. The issue of money isn't so much, it is, because I'd be happy to work for them for that fee. But literally, these should be recompeted on a frequent basis. This has not been competed. Other bids taken for this contract for 7 years. That's the city's figure. I don't know. It's also my understanding, 2 members of the CAC said this has already gone out with an RFP.
Is that true?
No.
But I saw something.
Okay.
Recompete has already gone out with an RFP?
That was my understanding from 2 CAC members. I haven't tried to research
And
it or
Mike, you
anything.
said that's not
the case.
that's not accurate.
But what would it take to go out for recompete? If you're so sure they're going to come back, what's the problem? Because it isn't 6 months out. I mean, for you to go get competitive bids.
It's going to be very close to that.
It's a lengthy process, isn't it? I mean, it's fairly lengthy
Yeah,
in
it's what-
Manitou Springs.
6 months?
Not quite that long.
No, one, like I said, we don't bid consultant contracts. We do, qualification based. And once we set a contract, we do a fee. One of the things, I don't have the actual figures, but I looked at what I'm paying my project manager for NV5 and other project managers on the larger projects, and he's actually the same or less than some of the other ones. And the hourly fee is pretty high. So I don't think we'll save money. Yeah, I don't know how to drive this thing. There we go. So I didn't, but basically, I looked at the rates, and the current NV5 project manager is less, equal or less than others that we're paying. Again, I understand the CAC reasoning for wanting to recompete it, and typically, and some of them come from the federal side, and those things are renewed more frequently. It just, in this case, there's a lot of continuing history from project to project, that I just do not want to lose that, or at least prepare a little bit more. And the other part is with the loss of staff, we'll give them more work. I don't want to load them up and then have to possibly rescind that and switch consultants in at the end of the year.
So, yes, my questions were, they're not the construction company, they're managing.
They're helping me. They're
Managing the project.
Yeah, they're extension of staff.
How long do normal management teams work on a project for the city?
Well, with the RTA program's the only one where we've had a management. Well, no, I should take it back. We had management help back in the SCIP days, and that was a 3-year program.
So,
And RTA was new, so we went out to competition and began an RTA 1 in 2005, and then in 10 we recompeted it.
and, yeah, for me, I mean, it's not really a concern. It's just you always want to, you don't want to use the same lawyer. I mean, this came up in previous, several years ago, but going to the same lawyer for all the work, going to the same groups of people over time, I think can be detrimental for any government entity, because then you start looking like, well, you're giving them, special privilege in terms of a 7-year, 8-year, 9-year contracts. What's reasonable? Maybe this is reasonable, but that's my concern is when you see.
And I understand that, and I guess from the city's view, this is reasonable to continue at least one more year, so we can make a smoother transition because of the loss of history and expertise.
Any more, Lajinos? Let's go to Bill, and then I'll come back to Lajinos.
So I understand what we're saying here. It was supposed to be recompeted this year. You came back in and said, hey, listen, I want to extend it for another year. But now, it's not so much extending it for another year, it's the fact that you just lost a city engineer, therefore you have another reason to recompete it. But the point being, you're going to hire the new engineer anyway, okay, and pick up the speed. I still don't understand why you can't recompete, because this is 2018. This is what the contract starts at.
Yes, so we are going to replace that position, whether he has the same skill set to manage bridge maintenance projects. We're not sure if we'll find that. So we're looking at giving that to a consultant, this consultant, or if I need to, another one. It just, again, we can recompete it. We can go to other consultants, but just the change and getting somebody on board and up to speed, there's a loss of efficiency there and continuity that I think is not.
Mm-hmm. This was the year they're supposed to recompete.
It was requested that we do it, yeah. I mean, there wasn't anything contractually, it was just the CAC.
How many years have NV5 been?
So they got renewed in 10, so they're in the 7th year.
So these guys have had this contract for 7 years.
Mhm.
This is supposed to be the year they're supposed to recompete, so they should have been ready for it. And anybody who gets caught up with a single point of failure for a single engineer, I mean.
Well, I'm not saying we're going to fail, but I'm just saying to keep going. It's the better route for the city and the RTA.
Red flags are raised with.
Yeah, no, I do too.
And so I'll agree with them. I'm not going to support it.
Mayor, did you have something?
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of our citizen advisory committees, all of our advisory committees. So I certainly respect their concerns and their questions. However, I am in favor of this mainly because I know the pain of staff turnover and inefficient and losing some of that continuity and people who have been around for a long time on certain projects. So I don't think a year extension is too much, personally.
Lajinos?
And with that, it looks like this issue was brought up in 2016, however, not brand new. This has been up for a while. Did they have any contracts before 2010? Because that was with the extension of the new PPRTA.
They had a new contract in 2010.
That
was recompeted in 2010.
Did they have it before that?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so this is not just 7 years, it's extension.
No, well,
before that.
No, it was. They had it for 5 years, and we put it out to bid, and they won it again.
In 2010.
Yes.
Okay, so they've actually had this 12 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just a couple of questions here. So, also being new to this particular issue, what does the contract actually say? Is it a X number of years contract with so many one-year options that you can choose?
No, it was renewable with no limit, the way it was crafted originally.
So the contract is renewable with no time limit?
Yes, and I didn't realize that until we were into it, until I started getting more involved.
Wow. It's obvious, I think this is a city contract. It's within the city's purview to decide how they want to contract. I would not recommend that for the future, that you have a specific time limit with options that you could exercise or not exercise based on whatever decision you make, performance of the contract, or you just know there's somebody out there that could do it better, whatever. So I would,
I think
that's an interesting.
we've moved toward that.
Yeah, that's good.
Kind of what we're doing by saying
That's
only
right.
one more year, and you saying
That's
you
right.
wouldn't be in favor of for an additional.
Tyler?
One comment that you made, Mike, the contract and rebidding for this contract, you indicated that it was not just price-based, it was qualification-based.
Yes.
And I'm just curious how a competing firm would come up against that longevity and that institutional knowledge of this existing firm and compete favorably to gain a contract.
They could. There are other companies. When this was renewed or recompeted in 10, a lot of the big companies didn't want to go for it because they wanted to work on the design projects. So the firms that did bid were not very strong. But like I said, there are other companies that could compete.
Okay. Mr. Murray?
This came out as a sweetheart contract, and so they were forcing them to go back in to recompete to make sure that they got the best dollar for this particular process, and that's where the CAC picked up on this whole thing, saying, hey guys, you got to keep pushing this thing down, kicking this can down the road. The thing you should do is to see whether or not you are getting the best value. And that's what our responsibility is, to make sure that there's a competitive level playing field in the process. So.
Okay. Any other comments? Anybody in the audience? Okay. Let's vote by an upraised hand. Those in favor of going out for bid a year from now instead of immediately, raise your right hand. And opposed? Okay. And that's approved on a 5-3 vote.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to City of Colorado Springs monthly change order and property acquisition report. Mike, is that you?
Yeah.
We're keeping you busy today.
It's the Mike show.
Oh, yeah.
Let you chat in the halls.
Oh, let me see what I have. Just give me a second here. If I can't find it, memory's certainly right. We have.
Mike, do you need this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So what we have this month is we have a change order to Wildcat for Woodman Road. A couple of items there is that we changed we decided, or we really aren't going to be putting the rubberized asphalt on the top. It was too expensive, and we couldn't do it till midsummer, and that would kind of it would push us off until 2018 to finish the project instead of 2017. So that's what that one is. And then we also are adding below task orders on these on-call projects. There was discussion when we were awarding them how we track them, and so what we're doing is if we issue a task order on those on-call, we put them on our change order log so that the CAC board can see how we're using those. So that's just an informational item.
All right, that's for information only. Any questions for Mike? Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, let's go to the next item. That's the staff field review report. Welcome.
Thank you. Just for your information, and I'll take any questions you might have.
Okay, is there any questions for Rick regarding his field report? Okay, thank you. Let's go to the draft annual report to the citizens. Rick, I think that's you too, isn't it?
Yes.
And this is one, by the way, we're going to need to approve. So
So, yes, there's one change to a map that, for Old Ranch Road to show that as completed. And we will take care of that shortly because that staff member that was ill last week is back now, so we can fix that. The other item is that I was, the weeds on the front cover, looking of this particular picture provided by the county, it was a good job getting a shot of the bridge, of the West Baptist Road Bridge, and the sign. That was excellent. But the weeds bother me a little bit. So I asked our staff, Jenny Lines, to go out with me. She's our crack photographer. So I took her to the Chestnut Street Bridge over South Douglas Creek. That's a PPRTA funded project. And yesterday morning, she and I, you can tell that it's morning because of the angle of the shadows. But so there were four. Well, she took about a dozen, but I shortlisted it to four. And this was one. No, that was a bonus. Oh, you're doing it? So can I do it and you? Okay. Okay, let's call this. This is looking north from Vondel Park intersection. So that's one option. This is also looking north, but about 50 feet further north. Vondel Park, the T intersection of Vondel Park is behind us. So that this gets the road and the bike ped trail. Okay, this is another angle. It shows the less of the road, the creek somewhat, and we got a bonus of a bike rider on the bike ped path.
I like that one.
Okay, this, and then this one. This one also is from a hill above Vondel Park, looking northeast, road, bike ped, and the creek. So I've heard several people seem to like that one. Now, this will be for the front cover and will take the place of the Baptist West picture.
We Photoshop the PPRTA sign.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I'd love the sign. That was the other thing. That's what I liked about this, is it had the sign.
Yeah.
Local bicyclists on there?
Let's not get into bicycling.
We want the picture to be something that people will pick up and say,
I like that one.
I want to read this.
It would be
And
awesome
so
if it had a sign on there.
there was someone that recommended that maybe Reb and I have our picture on there. We thought that might be more contrary to what our objective was. We suggested if there's going to be people, it should be probably Jennifer and Bev on there to get people to read it. But personally, I think this is a nice picture. If we could Photoshop the PPRTA sign on there, that would be awesome. Yeah, or just stick our logo up there.
Does it make it real?
It was a real sign that they took a picture of, and it's a real picture.
We're in the era of fake news. This is.
That's right. You're fabricating.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the proposed draft?
I have one,
Yes, please.
one little edit on
Yes,
page 14, Town of Rama.
yes.
It says in 2016, the Town of Rama focused on getting as many chip and seal as
Oops.
projects.
We need to scratch the as.
Otherwise, I think it's brilliant.
Yep.
Okay.
And I have a question as well, if I might.
Yes, please.
I like that picture too, because there's a person in it,
Yes.
and I really like that, but there's something else in the back of my mind, considering the controversy about the bike lanes that were installed and then removed. It is a picture on the front page of a bike trail.
It's a path, though. It's not a road.
That's not a road.
Path, yeah. If it was on the road, I would say no.
I just want the
would
question to be asked, and if we're still good with the picture, then I'm good with the picture. But I want
I'm
the
still
question
good with
to be
it.
asked.
I think it's a good question to
I
be
thought about
asked.
it.
Yeah. Yes, Tyler?
One other, and it may not apply to a government entity, but model release, did you require a model release from the cyclist?
No.
It could become an issue.
I don't know if that's recognizable, but
We don't know who that is, so how would we find him to get him to
Have his
sign
face on
something?
there.
okay.
When they present
Their faces. Yeah. Okay. Is there a motion to approve this?
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Reb, did you want to speak?
I have only one problem. That was a tough project, and I actually watched it, and I saw what they did. I have no problem other than the fact that you advertise it as a bridge. You don't see a bridge. Yes, you see your intermodal path, which fits, but the bridge isn't there.
It looks like it to me.
No, I'm serious.
Okay.
I know where it is, but are you, i.e. the public? I like the picture of Bev and
Don't worry, I'll ride my bicycle down.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the legislative report.
Just one final comment.
Yes.
I think Rick got into the weeds a little bit there.
Yeah.
I'm famous for that.
We got a comedian in the bunch here.
Legislative report is just information. Good news, the two bills that the board, the Cackling Board were following, House Bill 1018, Larry Liston's bill to give a 10-year extension on the RTA statutes option to go to the voters for up to a 5 mil property tax. So that option got extended for another 10 years in the RTA statute from 2019 to 2029. And then Senate Bill 11, which creates a technical demonstration form, the solutions to improve transportation access for people with disabilities. That was also approved, and both of them are signed by Governor Hickenlooper and in your packet.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Yeah, those are good. Jennifer, we don't have an executive session, but are there any litigation considerations you need to report on?
Yeah, the only thing I need to report on is Walmart has filed an appeal of the district court's decision. So at this point, it's really a waiting game. They've what they call designated the record, which basically just means that the district court needs to transfer those files over to the Court of Appeals, which should happen in the next month or so. Once the Court of Appeals has that record, then they'll set the date, and then 42 days after that, Walmart has to file their opening brief. Then 35 days after that, the PPRTA files their opening brief, and then 21 days after that, Walmart gets to reply. And then if any party requests an oral argument, that'll be set for 3 to 4 months after that. And Peter suspects that all parties will ask for an oral argument. And then following oral arguments, then it usually takes about a month, 6 weeks for the Court of Appeals to issue their opinion. So what we're talking about here is about 9+ months. So we should have a decision maybe by the end of the year if we're lucky, more likely first quarter of 2018.
In the meantime, we're collecting the tax, or the DOR is collecting the
Right.
tax for us.
In the meantime, the tax continues.
Resolution finally 18 years from now.
Yeah, that's right,
Oh.
Stan.
That quickly?
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Rick?
Jennifer, were you done? Yes. Okay. I just wanted to jump in and attempt to answer Commissioner Vanderwerf's question to Beverly about contracts and having a column on her financials showing the approved contracts as encumbered.
And the term I have used in the past is obligated money or obligated
Okay.
contracts.
A downside to us doing that is that particularly the city provides or asks us to approve lots of contracts that they never use. There's a lot of contingent contracts there's 2 or 3 contracts for a single purchase of a quantity of items. So they like to have a second or third contingent in case the first one can't for whatever reason. And Mike, jump in if I misspeak. But if, for example, today on all 17, if Beverly were to post all of those as encumbered, in a lot of cases, the city's not going to use all of them, and particularly not going to use the full amount of all of them. So if she posts all of these as encumbered, they would way exceed what their budget amount allows in maintenance, particularly in maintenance. Am I misstating?
I think, my understanding, I'm not a county, but I believe those are service contracts. We don't encumber the contracts per se, but the budget for it is encumbered. I think Rick's line is that I think to try to track the encumbrances that the city does, and I imagine the county, would be a lot extra. And I'm not sure if that's something that we could give the numbers to RTA to put in, or if they would have to get them. But
If I might, I'm good. So.
But I have a suggestion for you from the city that we asked for a number of years ago, and that is not on maintenance and not on programs, because you're right, we do have our on-call services, and we might try to have two different signal contractors on call. But for our A-list projects, most of those are under a Pacific contract that you approve. And so it would be quite easy to have that the money is obligated, and then here's what we're doing. Because the problem that the city has had in the past is our elected officials going, wait, we've heard from PPRTA that you're not spending your money. Well, we are, it's obligated. It now takes time for the construction, or a lot of it is rolled over. Well, that's because it was longer than a one-year construction period. But I actually think that it might give the board a better idea of what the jurisdictions were doing if those A-list projects that we have contracts for could be showed as obligated, meaning that the contract was signed. And
I think that's good.
The obligated dollars for the contracts where it's feasible to do it are often a better indicator of the status of the contract in its schedule than the expenditure of the money, because the expenditures can be 6 months, 9 months, or a year after the completion of the project. At least that's when it might get listed, depending on what closeout activities you have.
if it's CDOT contracts, they're actually 5 years.
Well, I think it's a good suggestion, and it appears that there are some places that we can apply that, and I think we should.
I would be open to the application under those conditions, and how would we go about proceeding with that? Maybe we just ask you to do that, and you would voluntarily do it and put it in the report. Would that work?
I think that works. Let's do that. Bill, okay. All right. All right. Is there, the PPRTA board members have any comments or things they'd like to report? If not, then we're adjourned.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks. These together.